Welcome to another edition of A Lot of Help with James Lott Jr. Who am I? I'm James Lott Jr. Of JLJ Media. I'm the JLJ of JLJ Media. That's right, kids. And I've been in business for 17 years. So I have two businesses, the Super Organizer and, of course, JLJ Media. And I'm doing it for 17 years. I started from scratch. I was 40 years old and started as I'm going to do my own thing and start from scratch. And it's been a very wonderful, maddening, crazy, exciting, and some adjectives I can't say on here, journey. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change it for the world. And I'm so glad that I went on this path of entrepreneurship. And I love talking to people who want to help people, like I try to do with this show and other shows, on that same path. Because I think anybody could do it on some level. Some people need to learn certain tools to get there, but it's possible. And this person said, I told him before the show, I was going to tell this. There's something he says in his bio that I like. I'm going to. He says his philosophy centers on the idea that small businesses don't need to be large to be massive. And that to me is my motto. First of all, I've built a mini empire. I have people working with me, for me, side by side me, everything. And I'm successful. I may not be, A-list out there, I'm not Sony, I'm not Universal, whatever, but I'm JLJ Media. And I think, and I'm making money. I'm able to pay my bills and do things and pay other people. And I think that's such a great lesson. And we're going to learn what his thing, blah, blah. But let me tell you about him. So he has over 35 years of experience in small business, leadership, and momentum building, which I like that. He's the founder of Bizzics. It's a transformative resource hub for small business owners and the author of the acclaimed The Bizzics Way, Powering Your Small Business to Maximum Momentum. And that's something I think we don't talk about small business enough. Small business is the backbone of our country. There's a lot of small business, and we get bounced. I feel like we're the middle children of the industry. So help me welcome. I'm real tough myself. Chip Higgins.
It's great. It's great to be here. I really, really appreciate you having me. I know we're going to have a great time together today.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Chip, for your time. So now, first of all, I'm glad you said that the phrase business don't need to be large to be massive. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more for those at home?
Yeah, so my experience with small business is I'll give a little background, then I'll kind of cut to the chase. I think my experience with small business owners, I worked in the banking industry primarily and ran into all kinds of people, all kinds of industries, and multi-generational startups or whatever. But I generally found that the landscape was kind of confusing for them. There's a lot of books, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of people selling stuff. And when I wrote my book, it was really an effort to simplify. And I had a very influential physics teacher in high school. I wasn't a great student, but it's in the book. It's someone you could never forget. And this momentum equation just stayed with me. And I kept hearing people talk about momentum in business, and it was just kind of like everybody was saying it, and I just reached a point where it started like annoying me, like it was just bugging me, like is it really a thing in business, or if it is, like that's the best thing possible because it's such a simple equation. So that's the path I went down, and the stories in the book. I talked to a good friend of mine who's legit physicist and Caltech trained, and I just came to the conclusion that it really is a thing. But this issue of mass is one of the ones that was really difficult when I was talking to Marcus, my physicist friend, to kind of get his mind around what I was saying about business mass, because it was completely foreign to him. So there's that chapter in the book starts with like the Monty Python riddle for the oracle. How can a small business be massive?
Yes.
And so if you take it back to the physics part of it, when we talk about mass in physics, it really has very little to do with size. It has everything to do with density and the weight that you're bringing towards something. I mean, that's really what it's about. So 98% of the mass of any matter is in the nucleus, and it's all like protons and neutrons, and how many of them there are, and how tightly they're packed. So, I mean, that's really it. I mean, that is the whole thing about density. A volleyball and a bowling ball are the same size, but they have completely different density.
Good analogy.
So,
That's a good analogy.
From a business perspective, what I'm proposing in that statement is that if we have a heart for something, someplace that we want to show up and be impactful, I think that we generally will have trained ourselves in life about what the issues are, and have spent a lot of time thinking about how we're going to show up differently for people there. And so, part of it in business about being massive is, just having a value proposition. I'm sure, like, you've got multiple businesses, James. I bet every one of them you started is a matter of you showing up for people in a way that's meaningful to them. I mean, that's really what it's about. And, there are other things at the core of a business, like, your vision and your value system is really important. Who you are as a person is really important. I mean, I think, I hate to be judgmental, but, there are really impactful people in life. And then there's some that are just kind of float by. And
They do. I mean,
never hear from them.
Yeah.
So I think entrepreneurship is really, it's a lot about preparation and finding that right opportunity to show up and be different and, like, super meaningful in somebody's life. I mean, that's really what entrepreneurship is about. So, I'm very encouraged. I don't necessarily gravitate toward huge companies. I admire them. I've admired a Microsoft that Bill Gates somehow managed to be in charge of that company from zero to 10 billion in revenue or whatever it is. Like, it's so extraordinary that somebody has that skill set to do that. But I just find that there's a creative energy around entrepreneurs about finding a way that's very attractive to me. And that's what I find in the landscape today is we have so many bloated companies that have forgotten parts of their business that need better attention than they're getting. And, like, I look at the drink industry, 25 years ago, and it's like you had Pepsi and Coke or whatever. And now it's like, you got multiple flavors, you got multiple people have found a way to, bring that unique thing to people on a scale that they're able to make money. So I feel like I'm rambling on now, James. But
you're doing fine. I'm going to jump in. You're doing fine. Because I would piggyback off of that. I think, number one, I found my success started to happen when I chose to serve. So when I started my business, part was out of necessity, like, you make some money. That's kind of I make some money. I'm not working at top anymore in San Francisco. I got to find a way to make some money. That was part of it, Jim. I have a house. That was part of it.
Yeah.
But then when I honed in, like, my first business was my organizing business, super organizer, and I was like, once I zeroed in on, there are a lot of women over 50 in parts of LA who are either widows, divorced, or, change of life, that need help.
Yeah.
I'll just go help them. And women talk. This guy, James, came to my house. He's so sweet. He did my room. You got to do your room too. You're messy, man. And so when I learned that I'm here to serve them,
right,
that's how I making money.
Yeah.
JLJ Media. I started, it was a media company. I started some stuff. I was doing slapping some videos up here and there. But once the fans started coming to me saying, you ever thought of doing this show? Or you ever doing this? Or talking about that? I started listening. I was like, so now there's a give and take. So everything that I have over 90 shows on my network. So that's over the last 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that. But all the shows serve a purpose for somebody.
Right.
I do Star Wars stuff. Even the Star Wars stuff I do, it serves a purpose for Star Wars fans. I'm a Star Wars nerd, folks. Right of that. But when you said that, I go, yes. And I'm still a small business. I'm a proud small business. I mean, I'm like, but once I started to serve and have a purpose in what I was creating to make money, then I started making money. Does that sound like familiar?
Absolutely. It's a byproduct. It's a byproduct of what you're doing. I mean, you've got to be smart about what the costs are and what you charge. But the first chapter in the book is about energy, entrepreneurial energy. because we get into like, you have to talk about velocity, and you can't have velocity without energy. But
Yes.
Relative to what you're saying, I think one of the big points in that first chapter is that entrepreneurial energy can't be about money. I mean, it's got to be about that service. And I love that Rich Roll podcaster. He's
Oh yeah.
There's something about him that I really enjoyed. I was listening to one of his shows one time, and he said that when you're in service to other people, your energy is inexhaustible. It's not. It will never run out as long as you're feeling like you're trying to help somebody or solve a problem for somebody. And I saw that many times in my banking career. Very short-lived businesses that thought they were going to make a lot of money, and beyond them making the money, there really wasn't a heart for it. And you just find that they run out of energy before they run out of money. Like, it's almost over as soon as they start. It's just it's not sustainable. Yeah, definitely.
I believe, to piggyback off you again, the other point you were making about energy, because we in our business always say it's not sometimes what you do, is how you make people feel. On TV show sets, on movie sets, I do red carpets. People remember me because I'm kind. I show up on time. I do my job. Like, so they walk away going, "Oh my God, James Lott Jr. is coming. Oh my God, Chip Higgins is coming. Oh, I love him." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that's energy. And so if you have success with that person as part of your project, even better, right? So then they're like, I want to keep hiring him. Yes, there are 8,000 people who can do my job probably. There's 8,000 James Lott Jr.'s out there. Not really, but there could be possibly. But what I bring to the table is different energy. So I agree. I can see your physics friend is saying, but it's all about, for momentum, you have to come in with a certain ball of energy. Right? That makes sense, right? To me, it makes sense. Right. It does.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think that we talk in the first chapter about kinetic and potential. And I feel like there's just a lot of potential energy out there in entrepreneurship today that never starts moving. And I think that, that was one of my hopes for the book, is like, if there's a better roadmap that kind of conforms to the universe, maybe people will find that path of taking the first step and getting their energy in motion. It's a very powerful and daunting thing to say, I'm actually going to do it. But I think people have a lot of pent up energy for things that gets contained by other wrappers that, they're in the corporate world, they're feeling safe, it's just, and I just get amazed by what people can do when they start. It's just, it's really powerful. And, there's another thing that I wanted to mention as you were talking about showing up on set, and I feel this today, just the energy feel between us, and just the importance of connection in this momentum equation. It's so important, the way we are bonded to each other. And when I speak publicly, I always point out that 98% of the mass is the protons and neutrons, and the rest of it is about bonding. But that bonding can have just this amazing impact on mass, because pencil lead and diamonds are basically the same matter with completely different packing properties. I mean, they're the same. And the other thing about connecting is that it is energy producing. I mean, it's the difference between a mixture and a compound. Is basically, when things get bonded, there's an energy created, a release that you need all the energy you can get in business. I'm convinced of that. So I definitely feel that with you today, James. Yeah,
I say with you too. No, I do. What I want to bring up, I want to ask you a question about that. I'm going to pick back with that. You mentioned harnessing energy to produce something that gives momentum, right? So what are a couple of mistakes that you see some entrepreneurs make at the beginnings? Because they're like, well, I have this idea, and I'm going to do this business, I'm going to go over here, over there. So what are some of the things that I've had friends
there's definitely
right.
There's a lot of energy.
In
the book I talk about there's a linear momentum and there's an angular momentum, and angular momentum just makes you spin around in circles. I talk about the pinwheel firework I used to enjoy as a kid. It was very colorful, but it didn't go anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
was high heat. And so that's really getting into the first component we talk about in the book about velocity is that, when you ask people, where are you going with your business? A lot of times it's very vague. It's usually something like more, or, they're excited. And to be successful in business, a vector in science has a direction, a distance, and a speed. So, so to comply with the physical world in business, you would have to say the same thing about your business. I mean, exactly where are you headed? Like, what's the target market? How far into it are you going to get, and over what period of time? And I think that is probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks for startups is that they have a great idea of something that's new and different, but they haven't really defined a target segment that it's suited for, where they can go after that segment and speak their language, use the imagery that's relevant to them, so they can say, look, I've got 10% of the people in this zip code are coming to my restaurant. It's just like they love their menu. It's got, it's a mashup of Asian or whatever.
Yes.
You kind of love all that, but you have to do the math of how many people are you moving toward, and how many of them would it take for you to make a profit, first of all. But how do you continue to guide yourself on a path of like growing and share with that? Because that, when you think about what we talked about earlier, it's not necessarily about the revenue. The revenue is a byproduct, but if you're priced right and you continue to grow in the number of users in that segment, the revenue naturally follows. And I'm sure, it's the same for you with listenership. I mean, every one of your programs has a different kind of target listener. And that to me, first of all, are you getting into business for the right reason? This service orientation that we're talking about, like that, let's make sure you have the energy, but is it directed toward something that you can, track and say that I'm making progress in delivering this solution to people? If you don't have that, you really do end up with a lot of angular momentum of the idea of being in business, of like, well, I need to talk to a marketing person. I need to talk to, do I need billboards or whatever? And, you stop and think, I don't know that you've got a viable product yet. Like, you haven't even been down that road yet. Like, I mean, just take your time and develop something that stands out among the peers, and then, figure out how you're going to get more and more of that market.
Well, I think people, generations are changing. I'm Gen Z, Gen X, total Gen X. You work hard, you just do it, put your head down, do it. Gen Zers are different. Some millennials are different. I notice it's more about, I think I have a good product. It should just be a hit.
Right.
It happened today.
That's right. Yeah, it speaks for itself.
Like, why is it not, So I love their spirit. I love their spirit too. But I know I'm talking down. Like, I just want to say that. But since it's a different world now.
Oh, it is. You have to be very sensitive to that. Yep.
Yes, but we're learning. Nothing happens that fast. It's still that the world hasn't changed that much when it comes to business building. It's still right. There's still blocks that have to be built, right?
Yeah, like even an app. I mean, like, go on the app store. Like, how many bajillion apps are out there? It's just I think if you can master that part of it, the energy and a specific direction and solution for somebody, you're gonna have a pretty good chance of making it if you give yourself enough time. And that's another thing, is like people that they get the urge to start something, they leave a job that was paying them pretty well, and they've got 6 months to start making money, or they're going to be late on their mortgage payment. It doesn't work that way.
No.
I mean, it's like, you've got to tinker in the back office, your garage or whatever, for sometimes years before you figure it out, I mean, it's just it's a long process of doing that. And it's the amount of money involved in it. It's you got to keep balancing out, like, when is my big scale moment where I leave everything behind and I'm in this 100%. And that's a tough call, and it kind of varies by industry. There's a chapter at the end of the book that after I get through the momentum equation, I talk about two other physical principles that are closely related, but they're not part of the equation, with leverage and friction. And leverage is one that I talked a lot about to small business owners about this is the reality of small business startup. Is it's going to take you a lot longer than you think it's going to take. So if a lever is designed in physics to move an object from point A to point B faster, then you need to figure out your levers. I mean, what are the levers that will move you along faster? And it may be contacts in an industry or a group of customers you've already dealt with. I mean, I think it's important to think about leverage as part of that. And there's a big part that has to do with debt, but it's mostly about getting started and being purposeful, moving in a direction. And sometimes you find out like people that you thought were levers are friends, and they don't really have the clout. They don't, or they're not really interested in being a lever. Despite how you look at them, you can see the potential.
It's true. I found for me, there were times I even had to change. I had to pivot and change. Well, obviously, the pandemic hit 5 years ago. I did a lot of changing for a lot of us. We couldn't be in person. Both my companies, I was at a standstill for like 2 weeks. I was like, and then we're not on sets. So what do I panicked for 2 weeks and then I pulled together, but figured it out. But one of the things that I really tell people all the time is when I started 17 years ago, the first year I didn't make any money. The second year I broke even, barely. I got excited. I broke even. I was like, this is great. The third year I saw a small profit. And then it went up. It's been up ever since. But I'm just saying that I do all the time. It took at least, I would say, 4 years where I was like, oh. But even now, it's taking me 17 years where now I'm really making the money that I wanted to make. It took a while.
That's about right. Yeah. And I mean, I've been on some other podcasts, and we always talk about the failure rate. When I started in banking in '84, it was about 50% will fail in the first 5 years, and it's still that way.
Yeah.
And so you're describing this 5-year trajectory of like, think of all the reasons to quit at year 1, 2, 3, or 4. You don't have the cash, you don't have the energy, whatever it is. So I think if you study this book, I think it'll be a lot of insight about what you need to equip yourself if you're going to be successful over 5 years. I mean, that's really why I wrote the book is, why put your whole life on the line for a 50-50 proposition? It's like, John Maxwell says it's easy to be average. What would it take to be above average? Like, you've got a 10% chance of not making it instead of 50%. It's just play the odds and be prepared.
Well, also, something that we were kind of touching on too, and you kind of mentioned earlier, it's just again the energy to go all in. I have mentees and people I talk to, and I always tell them it's up to you. I can't tell you what to do. I can give you suggestions, but that part, that's on you. That's right. Your mindset. That's your energy. That's your drive. And yeah, you and I can give people, ways to reframe things. One of the things for me to leave, I left. Seriously, a lot of people know my story out there, but if you guys don't know, I left this high-powered insurance education job. I was there 10 years, making like $200,000 a year. There was a nice fancy apartment in San Francisco. It was the money coming through, bills were paid. I was like taking trips. Yeah. I wasn't happy. I was pushing papers. I wasn't happy. So when I stopped, everybody thought I was crazy. And it was during the recession. It was 2008. It was during the recession. So like, you're crazy. And I was like, I probably am crazy. Gonna be a little crazy to do this. But I said, but my reframing wasn't, I'm losing all of that stuff. That was not my reframe was, look what I'm about to gain.
I love that. Yeah, that energy toward the positive. Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's what it is, Chip. Seriously, I had to really look at it a whole different way.
Yes.
And so, no, I'm not losing that stuff. That stuff, I'm shedding that stuff. That's not what made me. It was soulless work. It did not make me happy. Now I can do whatever the F I want.
Yeah, I found that in my own trajectory, and unfortunately, I feel like I succumbed to it a little bit because I started Bizzics in 2019. It was just kind of a coaching practice, and then COVID hit.
Yeah,
and there weren't a lot of people thinking about big dreams. It was kind of, how do I get PPP money and get through this?
Yeah.
And I honestly got very discouraged about it. And, that idea of like leaving it behind and being happy about it, I started getting beckoned back to the banking industry, and I gave in. I was like,
Oh,
and I worked at 3 banks in 3 years.
did you really?
And finally,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but in the middle of that, I did make this huge decision to write this book because I wouldn't let go of the idea of Bizzics, but I kept getting that safety call back to something that was familiar.
Okay, so wait a minute, Chip. Okay. So a question for me for you is, because this happens, we have to give you grace. This does happen.
Right.
I've been tempted a few times to go back to
Yeah.
my old. I mean, they were like, "Come on, Jay, come to the dark side." No, we didn't do it. But I want to ask you. So, what have you learned? What was one big lesson you learned after doing those 3 banking jobs in 3 years?
You have to listen to your gut. You can't deny it. I mean, at the end, I knew that I had made the same mistake multiple times. That it was not. I had to be 100% in and not look back. I mean, that was such a powerful lesson to me. And I feel like sometimes I'm a very intuitive person, and sometimes I get into this rational part of my brain because I don't trust it. It's like I keep saying, you know, overthinking it and tamping it down, and that doesn't do me any good at all. It's like you got to go with the passion and the bliss part of it, and just have faith. I mean, it's such a faith walk, honestly. I mean, it's like you have to have faith that what you're doing is important and that you
Yes.
care enough to do good things for people, and it will all work out. It's very daunting. I don't like talking about that part of it, but also feel like at the same time, like it gave me some space to write my book, which I'm really happy with. And I feel like that is kind of a scaling thing in its own right, that what I'm about is accessible to a lot more people than I could ever meet with one-on-one. I mean, I think that's that's a really good thing that came out of it.
That's good. That's good. But I mean, it's. I know it's a tough
Yeah.
time, but some good came out of it. Obviously, as you said,
Yeah.
out of things, beauty can be born, as they say. They always
Well, I
say.
was, this probably goes back 15 years, but when I was starting on the John Maxwell team, they had all these guru people that would, give lessons and things on coaching. And this is something I repeat fairly regularly, but there was one session where the whole topic was about the word decide.
Oh,
And that when you, decide is the same word as like incise or excise, and it's all about cutting. And
yeah.
that decision basically says, you haven't decided if you haven't cut it off. It's like you haven't really made a decision until you say, I'm done with that part of my life, and it doesn't work for me anymore, and I'm not going to do it. So I give you a lot of credit, James. I mean, to walk out and just stick to it and crank it up over 17 years. I mean, that's an amazing story.
I'm crazy. Has to be it. Has to be it, right? Has to be it. I mean, so here's something funny. So when the pandemic hit and said everything stopped, I mean, everything stopped. So I said, because I was working for a network, they went out of everything stopped.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to become my own network. I'm going to take my business.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll do it myself. Who wants to go along for the ride? And so everybody else was afraid to do it themselves.
I love that, James.
They said, "But I was crazy, Chip. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea. I was like, I'm going to figure it out, but I had no idea." And I was like, I'm going forward. I'm excited. But it's like, okay, Jay, I'm going to do this. And people came along with me, and I have some wonderful collaborators and wonderful producers, and we're working it out. But like, I had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, I must be crazy.
And so here you are.
I did it, and here I am.
You're still doing it. I mean, that's awesome. I love it.
But I think also one of the things I want to get people to talk about a little bit is that you can be nowadays, and you see this change too. I mean, my first job was in 1984. Actually, my first job I ever had was the first job. So we're probably around the same age. I might be a little older. Who knows? But I've seen the workplace change, and nowadays I'm doing jobs that weren't invented until like 5-6 years ago. Those things a podcaster, those things a YouTuber. Like these things are all right. Think about that, right? These are all recent things. So, but I found as a small business owner of this enterprise, I can be a big fish in a small pond.
Oh my gosh.
But also, I want you to talk about this too. But also, big fish, small pond. But also, niches are good,
Mm-hmm.
or niches are good, however you want to pronounce it. I found some that have been good to me. So those are two things. So you go from there. Those are two things I think nowadays you can be a big small business.
I think it's just I can't remember who I was talking about this the other day, but we were just talking about AI and
Oh yeah, AI. I know that one
you
too.
know there's clearly a downside of it in certain jobs. You know, I think there are some jobs that are more likely to be impacted by it early than others. But I would say for a small business owner, you have access to a C-suite. I mean, when you use AI properly, you ask the right questions. I mean, you can be aware of so much stuff that most company, you wouldn't be able to compete with that level of knowledge because it would be a company that had 18 senior executives that are doing market research and all this. You can find this stuff out like immediately, and I think that's a huge boost. All these productivity tools, I can't believe the stuff that I do every day, James. It's like, I'm in Chat GPT, and then I'm going into Canva, and I'm like, it's like, and I'm like, I just can't believe that I'm able to do this. It made it so easy. So I think it does allow you to stay small and nimble. It's like you don't have to have like a full-time person that's doing 6 different jobs because you don't have a full job for them and they're all different jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be the normal path of a small business owner is like, well, I'm going to make up a job description because I need help, but it's going to be 6 different things. It's like you've got access to it right now. So I think that part is really, really huge. The niches is honestly one of my most favorite topics about small businesses because that's where I mean that's not only where the action is, it's where the profit is. And what I going back to I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but when you think about how these companies have gotten so large, a lot of them have grown through acquisition. They've picked up things that seem like they're going to be a synergy to their overall enterprise because now they're in this piece of the business and they pick it up. And over time, what you end up with is inattention to the passion of the person that started that business in the first place of serving somebody. And that's where a smart, entrepreneurial minded small business owner will jump in and say, whatever happened to the people that were doing that? Like, is it still relevant? Can I jump in and do something better now? It's 5 years since the merger happened and there are all these capabilities for me to do things. Like I feel like I can make it better than it was before. And that is, that's really, it's a chapter in the, when I started writing the book, I tell people I was writing about momentum and they'd be like, well, I hope you write something about sustaining momentum. And that's that chapter on momentum where I talk about like an entrepreneurial culture of every single year, every person in the company identifying niches that could be a start to something much bigger. I mean, that is a really healthy thing for a business, and they're all over the place. I mean, they're everywhere. So, stick with the passion that you have, and think about the people that aren't being served, and why. It's like how many companies could Amazon acquire and still run them the same way? They're
Yes.
in their early days. Like how many? So that's a huge part of entrepreneurship, and I think where the big value is delivered. And then you have to be cognizant of is like once you start blowing up a niche, and reaffirm to people that there's money to be made in that niche, just buckle up because capital will always follow the profits, and somebody else is going to come along. So you have to have that level of nimbleness to say, these are the ones I've identified. We're going to start here, but I think in 2 years I could do this one. You might need to move that 2 year one up as you start getting pounded by people that have enough competency to get in that niche with you. So those are my general thoughts on it. I mean,
I just think that it's right now. It's about filling something that's just not that's needed or
right.
no one's thinking about.
Right.
I have a section of shows that are based in high school football. who have a bunch of podcasts and they're successful and people are into them. And it's like high school football is a big thing, especially in the Midwest, in the South. I mean, football is a big thing, period. And it's a big thing. And so we're getting parents, alumni, students all into the podcast, making them successful. We're creating community through a podcast.
Yeah, and you think about that idea too, James. It's like if you think that, like, being in Nashville, outside of Nashville, and the recording industry, and like what I've seen happen with studio time, the way people record, the expense involved in it, and technology has created this amazing environment for people to do things. The amount of people that you need to touch to be profitable has also shrunk. I mean, you can be so micro in podcasting, music genres. I mean, all these different things. Like you can make a fine living. It's like everybody doesn't have to be Taylor Swift. It's like you can do what you enjoy and find a little niche that you like and do really well with it. I got a guy here in the neighborhood. It's kind of funny. You talk about niches. This guy is kind of freakish in that he sounds exactly like James Taylor when he sings.
Wow. Okay.
We've done it a long time, but that's how he, and he was messing around with the music business here for a long time. And finally he decided, I think I can do this. Like, I'm just going to be, a cover guy. And that's what he does. He goes all over the country doing James Taylor music. So he doesn't need a band. He doesn't need, it's like you can operate at a scale where you can make a good living and enjoy it. I mean, I think that's the fundamental lesson. It's getting very specialized.
Yes, I think so too. That's amazing. Folks, we're going to end it here. You have to come back on again sometime, Chip. This was great. I love that.
Oh, I've enjoyed it, James. I really appreciate you having me on. And I feel like a
10-hour podcast. I
was loving on a podcast, and I feel like I made a new friend. That's how.
We are new friends. We are new friends. We are. And I want to thank Chip Higgins for his time. The Bizzics Way. Where can they find the book? Where can they find you? I'm going to put it in the description about what you've been to tell people at home.
Yeah. So it's on Amazon. I think it's like $15 right now. We've got hardback, audio, Kindle version. They all read, pretty well. I've also started up a new AI agent to accompany the book. So unlike traditional coaching of like having a certain amount of hours with the coach, I've made myself accessible 24/7. It's called Bizzics on Demand. So I think if you Google Bizzics on Demand, going to be in San Diego in a couple of weeks at the Small Business Expo, doing my first big public launch of Bizzics on Demand. But I've had amazing feedback because all you have to do is go in and ask a question, and you'll be in a 1-hour conversation and getting your full implementation plan for what you're trying to do in there. So I highly recommend that. So those are my two big things. And if you ever need a speaker on business or anything like that, I love getting up in front of people and talking.
Go to him, folks, or I'll find you. Find you. Me and Liam Neeson will find you. So go to him. Go to get the book. Get books. I'll put them in the description, of course. A lot of help is I have a Facebook page. I also have lottofhelp.com. I have a daily blog, which I talk about all kinds of stuff in the blog. So check that out. We have some fun stuff on there.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll look forward to that.
Yeah, the blog is a good time. We do that. And everybody out there, just if you're thinking about it, or if you just started, or you've been doing it for a while, you feel stuck, go to Chip, go to the book, come to me, come to us. Let's all help each other out. Again, this is the American dream. It all starts with small business, and I'm not saying you should never strive to be big. Sure, that's fine, but it's okay to be small business.
It is.
For me, it's always been about, I can make enough money to get my bills paid, put some away, have some fun at the same time, and I'm proof you can do that.
That's right. I've loved talking to you, James.
Thank you, everybody at home. We're here on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, new episodes. We'll talk to you next time.